Hey guys, Tarke, and I mean, let's be honest, the most beautiful jumper you've ever seen. Just really sink in. How nice is this jumper? Okay. So, yeah, I just really like this jumper. What do we want to talk about today? Today we're going to be talking about MMOs, more in particular, World of Warcraft, and why we need more MMOs. Now let me elaborate. You're going, but dude, there's loads of MMOs. There's Blade and Soul, Black Desert's about to come out. It's like Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy, Wildstar, Eve? I mean, okay, obviously I've missed a few out, but when you look at like modern MMOs which have come out in the last few years, which have kind of done well, there aren't that many. And why do I think this is important? World of Warcraft doesn't have a competitor. Like, Final Fantasy is doing alright, but it's a pretty different style of game, and it's not... I'm not going to say that it isn't competing for the same audience, but it's a different style of MMO. The grindiness in comparison to WoW, the combat approach, there's not like... It's like, okay, so to give you an analogy, it's not like, you know, if you buy butter, right, and then someone just makes better butter than you. All this other stuff, it's like other, you know, weird brands, this one's got mushrooms, this one's got that. It's like you just kind of want this, but improved. We want an improvement on the World of Warcraft formula. And what we're getting at the moment is we're getting a lot of deviations which just aren't picking up. And because they're not picking up, the communities are small. Because the communities are small, they're just not doing well. If you're an MMO and you have a small community, then you end up going free to play. This ends up happening, and it all kind of just starts dissolving. Why do I think that World of Warcraft needs a competitor? And it desperately, desperately does. If you think about any field at all, the second there is competition, it says either, look, you either need to, one, lower your prices or make your product better, otherwise I'm just going to go to this guy. And I think that's the main thing that WoW's lacking at the moment, and I think you can see this trend in WoW's development. If you look through all of the expansions, you look at some of the ideas, some of the content, it's just, it seems that with, I'd probably say from about Mists into, maybe even Kata, but from Mists into WoD, there seems to have been a lack of innovation when it comes to the World of Warcraft. I mean, if you think of, okay, what came out in, what was the big thing, which we'd never seen before in Mists? We had solo dungeons, which sort of have been incorporated into storytelling, so that was sort of, but there wasn't anything which hasn't been done before. There was Timeless Isle, which is basically just a Skinner box, and if you don't know what Skinner box are, it's something you do over and over and over and over and over again, and you keep pressing the button, you keep getting your reward, you know, Skinner box zones. So Timeless Isle is just an enclosed little space, you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same rewards, but you do it anyway. And that was kind of that. We had a lot of quality of life improvements. The raiding was pretty solid. Towards like the end of it, the PvP balance was okay, but start with it was pretty rough. You go into WoD. What new thing did we get in WoD? We got garrisons. Garrisons aren't a new idea. It's an idea which has been in other games. Yes, the implementation was different, but you know, it wasn't anything really crazy. And now we go into Legion, and in Legion we're getting a lot of borrowed ideas from Diablo. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Some of the things sound good. The challenge mode system sounds really, really good. Like, amazingly good. As far as I'm aware, it's not in the alpha yet, because I haven't seen anyone talking about it recently. So we don't know how good the system is and if it's working correctly. But that's something positive, but that's only come from another development team. Yes, Diablo comes under Blizzard, but these are ideas being borrowed from another development team because they're shown to work over here, right? And that's a good thing. We want more of that on the marketplace. And because there isn't enough competition, people are getting lazy. And if you can come up with the ideas yourself, brilliant. If you can come up with all the crazy new ideas yourself, great. You can go off and you can run with it. But sometimes you just need to look at what someone else has done and gone, okay, well, we could polish that a bit. We could cut off the edges. We could add in this. Okay. And that's what Blizzard's really good at. If you look at all of Blizzard's games, and if you look at their early successes with World of Warcraft, they were looking at the market, they were getting a scope of everything else, and they're going, we could do that better. we're Blizzard, we could do that better than them. And since they've been at the top for so long now, and they don't have those ready examples like, oh yeah, no, we could do that, but better. I think that's why we're kind of getting a stagnation, alright? It feels like the game isn't evolving. Now, I'm not hating on the game, I still enjoy the game, but would you say the game has dramatically evolved since Wrath of the Lich King? And when I say evolved, I mean improved. Because what we've had is we've had Cataclysm, which some people love, some people hated. The old world got a massive revamp, we got a load of graphical changes. And that was all good, and the questing improvements were really good, but it came with a bugged up system, the experience was all warped, and it instantly kind of outdid itself to the point where it almost wasn't worth doing. Because what you did is you took a really bad leveling system, you made it slightly better, but it's still messed up. So, yeah. The raiding was good to an extent. People didn't like the last raid that much. LFR, you can say what you will about LFR, but that came in with that. And, you know, that was kind of that. Then Mists of Pandaria was kind of just, can we make our own expansion? Can we make up some lore? And it was serviceable. It was good expansion. I actually kind of liked Mists. I think people give it an unfair reputation. But it didn't feel like the game was going up a notch. It kind of felt like it was just staying at the same level. And I think that's the issue, is that World of Warcraft is just sort of staying on a level now. And with Legion coming up, Legion's looking really promising. But Legion is... and this is going to sound kind of weird, while Legion is looking good, and there's a lot of improvements in Legion, it kind of feels like Wrath was here, then we had Kata, then we had Mists, then we had WoD, and then Legion's only just sort of, just a little bit above Wrath. And it doesn't feel like, you know, it's been, what, 6 years, I believe? WoD is 2, Mists is 2, yeah. Doesn't feel like 6 years worth of development. It doesn't feel like 6 years worth of progress. It just kind of feels like it feels like it's just like the next expansion. And I think a lot of this is purely due to the fact that they just don't have that extreme rivalry with another company. I mean, if we look at Hearthstone, why is Hearthstone doing so well? They looked at Magic. They looked at other card games. They said, okay, well, you know, we can do this on an online format. We can really polish the hell out of Hearthstone. And Hearthstone is huge. You look at Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, okay, Heroes of the Storm doesn't have the biggest player base, but I think a lot of that was to do with their marketing strategy and how they released the game too late after the hype. If you look at the core game, I think it's far more polished than most other MOBAs. I think again, I'm going to get hate for this, I think the only MOBA which kind of like outdoes Heroes of the Storm is Dota 2, and the reason why I say that is that I prefer the monetization system of Dota 2, and Dota 2 caters to an extreme other, like, it's like they're on two different spectrums. It's the MOBA spectrum, but they're on two very separate ends of it, and I feel like they do both ends perfectly. Right, and we're looking at Overwatch now. Obviously, not all of you have been playing Overwatch, but I played a lot of Overwatch recently, and I think they've done a really good job with Overwatch. And I can just go, yes, I can see how you've progressed the genre. And with WoW, I know, and I'm repeating myself at this point, it's just, they're not at that stage. So next time that you want to start raging, you know, Hazukosis or Halinka, kind of think, hang on, how long have these guys been working on this game? At some point, you need something. You either need to like have a completely fresh team with really crazy wild ideas, or you need something to spark the inspiration off. Because if you look at Diablo 2, why did Diablo 2 get good again? You put Mascara in, right? I've probably butchered his name, but his name is Mascara. He came in, he was the guy who was in charge of the PlayStation port. They then put him in charge of Reaper of Souls, and that game is just improving dramatically. And that was a fresh look, a fresh eyes on it. You either need like a big shake around to just get some fresh ideas going, or you need, and this is what I'd prefer, a competitor. Because I trust the dudes at Blizzard, but I just feel like they need something to spark them up a bit. And I feel like a competition, and another good thing about having competition is it scares the investors. And I am very curious to see how much there is of, yo, we want to do this, and people at the top saying, no, you haven't got the budget for that. I'd be very interested to see how budgeting affects decision making, because you also have to kind of think and go, What have you been doing? Like, you know, when you look at the development cycle and you go, okay, that makes, yeah, that linked. And then you kind of go, but what were they doing in this period of time? And I really do wonder how much of development is just getting shut off and pushed to the side, because one thing I've noticed a lot when it comes to Blizzard is they will half develop an idea and then they go, no, it's not good enough, and then they kind of scrap it. And that must be pretty costly, I imagine. And I wonder if that's what causes these weird droughts of content where it seems like nothing's going on, because you're going to go, well, you made BC and Vanilla with a team this big, and now you're like this big, but you're making less. How is that possible? So something's going on there, but yeah, sorry if it was a bit of a uncoordinated video towards the end, but yeah. I'm Tarke, this is a beautiful jumper, and I'll see you all again later. Bye-bye.